Join me in this touching story of unexpected connection and transformation. A struggling mechanic's life takes an extraordinary turn when he helps a stranded woman. Unaware, she is Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Their paths intertwine in ways neither could anticipate, leading to profound changes for both. As they navigate challenges, prejudices, and personal growth, we witness how a single act of kindness can reshape destinies and break down barriers. This story will touch your heart and remind you that sometimes the most meaningful connections come when we least expect them. Where are you watching me from? Comment below and let me know which part of this journey resonates most with your soul. Ray Mendoza wiped sweat from his brow as he closed the hood of a beaten-up Chevy. At 45, his hands bore the calluses of 20 years fixing cars in this small garage in South Dallas. The economic downturn had hit hard. Fewer customers, mounting bills, and his daughter's college tuition looming like a storm cloud on the horizon. His phone buzzed with another payment reminder as he locked up for the night. The rain started just as Ray reached his truck, a torrential Texas downpour that matched his mood. Through the sheets of water, headlights flashed frantically on the shoulder of the road. Most days, he might have driven past. Today had been long enough. But something made him pull over. A woman stood beside a sleek black sedan, frustration evident in her stance. Her tailored blazer was soaked, and despite the expensive car, there was something vulnerable about her being stranded in this neighborhood after dark. "Need some help, ma'am?" Ray called through the rain. She turned, relief washing over her face. "Thank God. Car just died on me. I've got an important meeting tomorrow morning." Ray noticed her designer handbag, her careful speech. Not from around here, he thought. Probably heading to one of those fancy hotels downtown. "I'm a mechanic. Let me take a look." Ray bent under the hood, quickly diagnosing a fried alternator. "Can't fix this tonight, but I can give you a ride somewhere and tow it to my shop tomorrow." The woman hesitated, assessing him. Ray was used to that look. People saw his weather-brown skin, his work clothes, and made assumptions. "I'm Ray Mendoza. Been fixing cars in this neighborhood since before these high-rises went up," he said, extending a grease-stained hand. After a moment, she took it. "Jasmine," she said simply, not offering a last name. Neither knew it then, but this rain-soaked encounter would change both their lives forever. The struggling mechanic and the Congresswoman, brought together by a broken-down car and a simple act of kindness. Ray's small garage felt different the next morning. The black sedan sat in his service bay, an anomaly among the usual pickup trucks and well-worn family cars. He dropped Jasmine at a hotel downtown last night, promising to call once he diagnosed the problem. Something about her lingered in his mind. Her confidence despite the situation, the way she'd asked thoughtful questions about his business during their brief drive. His daughter Lucia arrived, tossing her backpack on the office chair. At 17, she split her time between school and helping at the garage, learning the trade while dreaming of engineering school. "That's a nice ride," she whistled, circling the sedan. "Who does it belong to?" "Just a customer." Alternator shot. Ray popped the hood, but Lucia was distracted by her phone. "Dad!" Her eyes widened. "Do you know who this car belongs to?" "It's registered to Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's office. She was just on the news this morning about that housing bill." Ray froze. The woman from last night? A congresswoman? He remembered her simple introduction, the lack of pretense. His phone rang before he could process this revelation. It was her. "Mr. Mendoza, I hope I'm not calling too early." Her voice was more polished than last night, but still warm. "No, ma'am. I mean, Congresswoman," Ray stumbled. "I should have recognized you." A brief pause. "Ah, so now you know." Something in her tone, disappointment, perhaps? "Does that change anything about my car repair?" Ray felt a twist of shame at her assumption. "No, ma'am. Car doesn't care who drives it. Needs a new alternator either way." The conversation ended with arrangements for her assistant to pick her up at Ray's garage that afternoon. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood that Congresswoman Crockett's car was at Mendoza's garage. By noon, local news vans had arrived. When Jasmine stepped out of her assistant car later, she was dressed impeccably, the vulnerable woman from the rainstorm replaced by a public figure. "Come at a fleische serapted." "Ms. Crockett," "Are you making a campaign appearance in South Dallas?" a reporter called out. She looked confused, then spotted Ray standing awkwardly by his garage. Understanding dawned in her eyes. Someone had tipped off the press. "Actually," she said smoothly, walking toward Ray, "I'm just here to pick up my car. Mr. Mendoza helped me when I was stranded last night. The kind of small business owner who represents the backbone of our communities." Cameras swung toward Ray, who suddenly found himself thrust into an unexpected spotlight, alongside a congresswoman whose political battles were far removed from his daily struggles. Until now. The unexpected media attention transformed Ray's struggling garage overnight. By the following week, Mendoza's auto repair had a waiting list. People came for photos where Congresswoman Crockett got her car fixed, though Ray suspected many were also curious about the mechanic she'd publicly praised. Ray felt uncomfortable with the attention. He hadn't helped Jasmine for publicity or profit, but Lucia was ecstatic about the sudden business surge. For the first time, her college dreams seemed attainable rather than a distant hope. "We got 3 new appointments today," Lucia said, updating their schedule board. "And the Houston Street Community Center called. They want you to speak at their youth program about small business ownership." Ray frowned. "I'm a mechanic, not a public speaker. You're a Latino business owner who helped an influential Black congresswoman. They think you can inspire kids." Lucia's expression softened. "Maybe you can, Dad." Before Ray could respond, the garage door swung open. Jasmine Crockett stood there without entourage or cameras, dressed casually in jeans and a blazer. "Congresswoman," Ray stammered, wiping his hands on a shop rag. "Is there a problem with the car?" "No, the car's fine." She glanced around the now busy garage. "Business looks good. Thanks to you," Ray admitted. "Though I never meant to use your name for publicity." "I know that." She studied him thoughtfully. "That's partly why I'm here. My office is launching a community initiative, technical training programs for underserved neighborhoods. We need business partners willing to offer apprenticeships." Ray felt a surge of conflicting emotions. The opportunity seemed heaven-sent, but he'd always kept his distance from politics. His father had warned him long ago that people in power only came to neighborhoods like theirs when they wanted something. With respect, Congresswoman, why me? Plenty of bigger shops could help more people. Because when my car broke down, you didn't see a photo opportunity or a political connection. You just saw someone who needed help. She paused. And because when I mentioned this program at a committee meeting, certain senators suggested that those people wouldn't want to learn anyway. Ray's jaw tightened. He knew exactly who those people were in that senator's mind. "I'd like to prove him wrong," Jasmine said simply. Something shifted in Ray at that moment. This wasn't about politics or publicity. It was about opening doors that had been closed to kids like him, like Lucia. It was about showing what those people could do when given a fair chance. "When do we start?" Ray asked, making a decision that would forever alter the trajectory of his life. 3 months into the apprenticeship program, Ray's garage had transformed. 2 work bays were now dedicated to training, with local youth learning automotive repair 3 evenings a week. The walls displayed certification paths and scholarship opportunities that Ray had never known existed before partnering with Jasmine's initiative. But success brought complications. Ray's old customers grumbled about the changes, some openly questioning if he'd gone political. Others suggested he was getting special treatment because of his connection to the Congresswoman. These whispers stung Ray, who had built his reputation on honesty and hard work. "You're quiet tonight," Lucia noted as they closed up. "Is it about those comments on Neighborhood Forum?" Ray sighed. 20 years I've fixed cars in this community. Now suddenly some folks are acting like I'm an outsider with an agenda. "You're helping kids who wouldn't have opportunities otherwise," Lucia countered. "Including me." The program had indeed opened doors for Lucia. Through Jasmine's connections, she'd secured an engineering scholarship interview at a prestigious university. Ray felt proud, but conflicted. His daughter's future now seemed tied to a political alliance he'd never sought. That evening, as Ray locked up alone, a black SUV pulled into the lot. Jasmine stepped out, looking tired in a way the cameras never captured. "Congresswoman," Ray nodded. "Didn't expect to see you tonight." Just Jasmine, please. She leaned against the building. My staff doesn't know I'm here. I needed to talk to someone who sees me as a person, not a political asset. Ray understood that feeling all too well now. They walked to a small diner nearby, where no one recognized the congresswoman without her power suits and entourage. Over coffee, she confided her frustrations. The housing bill she championed was being gutted by amendments. The same senator who dismissed those people was now claiming her community initiatives were merely for publicity. Sometimes I wonder if I'm actually changing anything, she admitted, or just playing their game. Ray was silent for a moment. Before your program, I had a kid come in looking for work. Smart kid, good with engines. But he dropped out of school, had some minor trouble with the law. I couldn't take the risk. Ray's voice thickened. He was found shot 3 weeks later. Wrong place, wrong time. Jasmine reached across the table, squeezing his hand. Last week, his younger brother joined our apprentice program. Ray continued. That's not politics. That's a life that might go differently now. As they walked back to her car, Ray realized something fundamental had shifted. This wasn't about a congresswoman and a mechanic anymore. They'd become unlikely allies in a struggle both understood from different angles. The fight to create opportunity where systems had failed. We're going to face more resistance, Jasmine warned as she prepared to leave. Are you prepared for that? Ray thought of Lucia's brightening future, of the young apprentices learning in his garage. I've spent my life fixing broken things, he said simply. I'm not stopping now. 6 months later, Ray stood nervously adjusting his tie in the back room of the community center. The apprenticeship program had expanded to 5 locations across Dallas, with Ray serving as the lead instructor and program coordinator. Tonight was the graduation ceremony for the first cohort of students, and the auditorium was packed with families, press, and local officials. You look like you're facing a firing squad instead of giving a speech, Jasmine teased, appearing beside him in a vibrant blue suit. Their friendship had deepened over months of working together, weathering political attacks and community skepticism side by side. Give me an engine problem any day, Ray muttered. Not sure what I have to say to all those people. Just tell your story, Jasmine advised. That's what they need to hear. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion at the side entrance. Senator Walsh, the vocal opponent of Jasmine's initiatives, had arrived unexpectedly with his own press contingent. He's here to discredit the program, Jasmine said tightly. My office got wind he's planning to use tonight to announce budget cuts to community initiatives like ours. Ray felt cold anger spreading through his chest. This wasn't just politics anymore. These were real lives, real futures being treated as political pawns. Ms. Crockett, the senator, called loudly, cameras tracking his movement. Quite a show you've put together. Though I wonder how many taxpayer dollars went into this photogenic display. The room tensed. Ray watched Jasmine straighten her spine, preparing for battle in the way he'd seen countless times now. But before she could respond, Lucia stepped forward from where she'd been helping organize student certificates. Actually, Senator, she said clearly, this program operates primarily on private partnerships and volunteer hours. My father hasn't taken a cent for his teaching time, and neither have most of our instructors. The senator seemed startled by this unexpected challenger, a young Latino woman barely out of high school. And who might you be? He asked dismissively. Lucia Mendoza, future engineering student at MIT. Her voice swelled with pride. Thanks to skills I learned in this photogenic display. The senator's calculated smile faltered. Ray moved forward to stand beside his daughter, with Jasmine joining them. Without planning it, they had formed a united front, the congresswoman, the mechanic, and the student, representing exactly what the program stood for. Perhaps before cutting budgets, Ray said, finding his voice at last, you should meet the people whose futures you're deciding. He gestured to the graduating students in their crisp white shirts and ties. These aren't statistics or political talking points. They're our future. The senator glanced around, suddenly aware that the cameras were capturing a moment he hadn't scripted. He was outnumbered not by political opponents, but by ordinary people with extraordinary determination. In that electric moment, Ray understood the true power of what he and Jasmine had built together. Not just a training program, but a community that could stand up and speak for itself. The battle wasn't over, but tonight, at least, they would not be silenced. 1 year later, Ray sat in the gallery of the U.S. Capitol, watching as Congresswoman Crockett defended the National Technical Training Initiative before the House committee. The program he and Jasmine had built in Dallas had become a blueprint for similar initiatives across the country. Ray's garage was now officially Mendoza Technical Training Center, with the repair business still running alongside expanded apprenticeship programs. The journey hadn't been easy. Senator Walsh and his allies had fought the funding every step of the way. There had been audits, accusations, and attempts to discredit both Ray and Jasmine. The stress had taken its toll. Ray had nearly walked away twice, overwhelmed by the scrutiny and political battles that were so foreign to his life as a mechanic. But today represented the culmination of their shared vision. Ray watched with pride as Jasmine presented testimony from graduates of their program. Young people now employed as mechanics, technicians, and engineering students. Opportunity shouldn't depend on zip code or family connections, Jasmine argued passionately. These programs create pathways where barriers once stood. The committee room buzzed with a mixture of support and skepticism. But what moved Ray most was seeing Senator Walsh shift uncomfortably in his seat as Jasmine introduced her final witness, a young man from Walsh's own district who had completed the Dallas program and returned home to start a similar initiative. After the hearing, Ray and Jasmine walked through the Capitol grounds, their breath visible in the winter air. "I never imagined I'd be here," Ray admitted, taking in the historic buildings around them. A mechanic from South Dallas testifying before Congress. "You're much more than just a mechanic now," Jasmine smiled. "You're a community leader and educator." Ray thought about how much had changed. Lucia was thriving at MIT, video calling him with excited updates about her engineering projects. His garage employed 3 full-time mechanics who had come through the apprenticeship program. And Ray himself had discovered a talent for teaching and mentoring he never knew he possessed. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "that night when your car broke down, I almost drove past. And I almost called my security detail instead of accepting help from a stranger," Jasmine added. They both fell silent, contemplating how easily their paths might never have crossed, how one small decision had cascaded into transformation for them both, and now potentially for thousands of others across the country. "Ready to go back to Dallas?" Jasmine asked. "We've still got work to do." Ray nodded, realizing that the most unexpected part of this journey wasn't the national recognition or even the policy changes. It was finding an ally and friend in someone whose life had seemed so distant from his own, until a rainy night and a broken-down car revealed how much common ground they truly shared. 5 years later, a sleek sign reading Mendoza Community Innovation Center gleamed in the Texas sun. What had begun as a humble auto repair shop now occupied an entire city block, housing automotive training facilities, technical classrooms, and a business incubator for local entrepreneurs. Ray walked through the bustling main hall, exchanging greetings with instructors and students alike. In his office, displayed prominently alongside Lucia's MIT diploma, hung a framed photo of Ray and Jasmine at the White House, shaking hands with the president as he signed the Neighborhood Technical Opportunity Act. Their Dallas program had grown into a nationwide initiative, creating pathways to technical careers in underserved communities across America. Jasmine, now serving her second term in Congress, had become one of the most respected voices on educational opportunity and workforce development. Her partnership with Ray had evolved into a powerful example of what could happen when political will and community expertise joined forces. Ray checked his watch and headed to the center's auditorium, where a special ceremony was about to begin. Today, they were dedicating a new building, the Senator Walsh Youth Innovation Lab. The irony wasn't lost on anyone familiar with their history. The senator, facing a tough re-election campaign, had eventually become a supporter of the program after seeing its success in his own district. As Ray took his place at the podium, he spotted Lucia in the audience. Now an engineer with her own tech startup incubated at the center, she beamed with pride. Beside her sat Mrs. Mendoza, Ray's mother, who still couldn't quite believe what her son's garage had become. 5 years ago, Ray began. A broken-down car and a rainy night brought two unlikely allies together. He nodded toward Jasmine in the front row. We came from different worlds, with different struggles and different strengths. But we shared a common belief, that talent and potential exist everywhere, even in places others had written off. Ray thought back to that night, to the mechanic he'd been, skilled with engines, but limited in his vision of what was possible. How could he have known that helping a stranded woman would lead him here, transforming not just his life, but the lives of hundreds of young people who now had paths their communities had never offered before? The most powerful engine for change, Ray concluded, isn't found in politics or business plans. It's found in the moment we choose to see each other, not as labels or categories, but as human beings with dreams worth fighting for. As the audience rose in applause, Ray and Jasmine exchanged a look of quiet understanding. Their unexpected friendship had changed everything, proving that when bridges are built between worlds that rarely connect, the potential for transformation is limitless. This story reminds us that the most significant changes in our lives often begin with simple acts of kindness and seeing beyond labels to recognize our shared humanity. Ray and Jasmine's journey shows how breaking down barriers between different worlds can create powerful ripples of opportunity and hope. Their partnership reminds us that meaningful change happens when we combine vision with practical action, and when we're brave enough to step outside our comfort zones to build unexpected alliances. Which part of their journey surprised you the most? Subscribe and let me know in the comments below.